Hello, welcome to Break the Cast. My name is Jeff Blagden. I am here once again, joined by Andrew Reese and Christian Smith. We are on our fourth installment of, well, the best football podcast out there. Fourth and goal, at least still my opinion, hopefully gaining on becoming your opinion. And, man, this week, it's an odd week. It seems to be the first time since, and again, surrounding the Seahawks too, since the Packers-Seahawks fiasco, that the main story of the week has been the refs. And it hasn't just been the one game.
No, we saw it in a lot of games this week. Obviously, as the Bills fan I am, you've seen it a lot in the Bills and Giants game. The Cardinals-Ram game, obviously, as you mentioned, the Seattle game, there was reffing issues there. A lot of the games saw kind of shady officiating in there.
Yeah, I mean, this week, too, with it really coming out. Like, the Cardinals game, we saw terrible officiating on the fumble call at the end, on the forward progress when the guy didn't even touch him. He touched the ball first. We saw it again in that same game, the play earlier that was a fumble that they overturned. And we saw it, hands on DBs deep down the field in that game. The Bills game, there was some phantom holding calls out of nowhere. I think
we'll touch that.
There was a lot of not only missed calls but just poor calls made this week.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how they missed that Seahawks call.
Yeah,
he's clearly in the middle of the end zone, batted out. I'm not complaining though because it won me my fantasy.
Oh, I'm complaining.
But
Seahawks should be 1-3. Cardinals should be 4-0. But I mean, the rule clearly states that if you're past the line, then you can't knock the ball out. And if you do, it's a touchback.
And he was dead center in the end zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's in the end zone, obviously, and just full out puts it right.
He's probably about 2 steps away from the end of the end zone, and then he batted it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, it sucks, too, to see something like this where the refs take the center stage and that. It's something we've been trying to get away from.
But that we see every single year.
But the thing is, it seems to be worse again this year. After last year, I mean, it was pretty good comparatively after we suffered through the replacement refs a couple seasons ago.
Yeah,
and now we got the regular refs back and everyone was all happy again.
And that's what I was
about
to touch on. After the replacement refs, there wasn't too many games last year where you could say the referees blew it or what other things.
I don't know if it was them being significantly better than they usually are or just the fact that we had that to compare to.
Yeah, it could have been, and that's what makes it challenging because it's hard to compare a year by year of refereeing. Because every game is different, but like we said this week, from what we picked up and what we saw, it was pretty lousy from the refereeing.
Yeah, and like I said too, it's not just one game. We saw it all over the place this week, and it all kind of came to a head this week. And I don't know what you do if you're the NFL, if there's any way to make any changes to this, but I mean, obviously something went wrong this week.
Yeah. Big time.
But I don't see any way the NFL can really do much about it either. Is another big thing. Like, what are you going to do? Come out and say, yeah, the call was wrong. We're going to reverse the win? No, they can't do that, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's tough for us fans to sit through and watch. But at the end of the day, I think we're just going to have to suffer through it.
So with the play in the Seahawks game, for those of you who may not know, what is the correct call according to the rule book on that play?
It would go back to the Lions because he batted it out. It would go back to the Lions because he batted it out in the end zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be,
so it would be possession back to them. Right? Yes, exactly.
It should be the Lions' ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Half an inch to the goal.
Yeah.
To seal the game and probably take that win.
Mm-hmm.
Which was kind of brutal to see that obviously happen because as a referee you're supposed to know the rule book and know the rules, and they didn't. It kind of just proved that lack of knowledge that they didn't know what it was.
The one bright side of it though, Cam Chancellor. A great play on him nonetheless. And Calvin Johnson for that extension. I don't think he should have extended. I think he should have just held it, ran it in.
I think Calvin Johnson is really feeling the pressure of everyone this year. Everyone's trying to say that he should be doing better and are expecting him to be doing better. But, I mean, he's Calvin Johnson. Just play like Calvin Johnson. You don't need to do anything, differently. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no improvement you can make if you just be Calvin Johnson.
And the Lions, though, they're on that slip, like we mentioned last week, where they're good one year, and they're bad one year.
It's always odd years, even years.
One of those years that they're bad.
Well,
they're even years.
0-4,
even years they're good, odd years they're bad. It's just
it's always a weird thing with them, and
it's funny with the play in the in that game too. Just one more quick little tidbit on it. That game was actually in the same end zone, the same play as the Green Bay one. I don't know if it's something about those officiating crews and Seahawks versus the NFC North, but that was...
they just don't like it.
Yeah, and it's the same end zone, the same deal. Seahawks win it on it. It's...
brutal.
You start to think maybe the NFL just wants the Seahawks to win.
Hey, they've been the most popular team in the last few years, and for a good reason, because they are a good team. They got the whole Legion of Boom thing going on. Obviously
Russell Wilson.
that always comes up in sports if there's a favorite. Obviously, we know that with quarterbacks, like Cam Newton had mentioned about him being too young to get calls. We know that if that was Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or anything who got hit like Cam Newton did, there would be a flag regardless.
Either way, though, that ref never should have said what he said to him.
No, that's horrible.
Yeah. Was there any... Did they announce if there was any punishment towards him yet, or no?
No,
nothing?
Not yet.
Nothing
official from the NFL yet. I doubt that there will be, too. I mean...
They defend the referees for the life of them.
Like, what are you going to do? You got to stick with your guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but, sticking in the division and talking on dual-threat quarterbacks like Cam Newton and young quarterbacks getting calls and that, how about Colin Kaepernick this year?
Terrible. He's a mess.
I mean, I know it's been wide opinion amongst the knowledgeable NFL fans that Alex Smith probably should have remained in San Francisco. They probably should have picked him over Kaepernick. But I don't think anyone expected his drop-off to be this quick this season. I mean, he hasn't been that great over the past couple seasons, but this has just been... Like, I almost say he should start Blaine Gabbert.
I honestly, a couple more weeks, I think they might go with Blaine Gabbert. Like, this week, Kaepernick he only had 160 yards. Last week, I believe he had 67. So in the last 2 weeks, he has about 230 yards.
You can argue expectations with him, though, too. But
you're not winning any games in the league if your quarterback's not throwing.
Do you think the loss
of game?
Do you think the loss of Harbaugh has a lot to do with this?
Harbaugh and Greg Roman.
Greg Roman's big too.
Yeah.
The play caller there.
And that's something I noticed as a Bills fan. If we had the offensive call that we did last year, working with
Taylor.
Wow, I blanked out on my own quarterback there. With Tyrod Taylor, he would not be as good as what he's doing right now. I think that comes a lot to Greg Roman because he knows how to use quarterbacks who like to move their feet, and they have a good arm. He knows how to work and call plays to benefit those guys.
Greg Roman has always been one of the best play callers as far as dual threat quarterbacks in the NFL are concerned. So, it's huge, a loss like that. But I think you got to look at the leadership there, though, too. Like Harbaugh and Kaepernick was his guy. Mm-hmm. Like, he was with Kaepernick from the beginning. He kept Kaepernick. He stayed by his side in that. You look at Tomsula there, you think maybe there might be just a lack of security with Kaepernick, that he's trying to make things happen that aren't really his game.
No, and I agree with that. And you could see that, like, obviously, as Christian mentioned, he only had 160 yards. He was 13 for 25 on passing.
Which isn't, it's not awful. I mean, it's not good.
No, it's not awful, but that's not Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
We've seen much better. Rushing-wise, 10 carries for 57 yards, which is
not
Kaepernick.
Bad
either. Yeah, that's not bad for a running quarterback. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Of course, they were playing Green Bay last week, who's one of the best teams in the NFL.
They've got a good defense. They've got a good passing defense for sure.
But yeah, and it's just hard to watch.
But I mean, you saw it in the Cardinals game, though, too. He was forcing a lot of passes that aren't Colin Kaepernick passes.
And that's what I mean.
Like those outs to the outside there that they on the 2 pick sixes against the Cardinals that they ran in and picked off from him, those aren't Kaepernick passes.
I feel he needs to start going back to Vernon Davis. They were a good combo for a couple years.
He was good with both tight ends.
Vernon is almost invisible right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he is. He has been.
Because I had him in fantasy just as a backup tight end. I dropped him immediately. He's done absolutely nothing for me. It's not even worth the roster spot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do we even go and touch on Aaron Rodgers, who we mention every week, and just how good he is?
Well, again, you're comparing Kaepernick to a game in which he played against Aaron Rodgers, who is... like I say, week in and week out, the only athlete on the planet that looks better in real life than he does in a video game.
It wasn't the best Rodgers game last week for him, though.
The worst Rodgers game is the best game for most quarterbacks in the NFL.
True enough.
Yeah, he still put up 22 for 32, 224 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing with him, too. It's always been efficiency and not turning the ball over with him. And, he doesn't generally put up those huge 400 yards games that you see from from guys like Drew Brees and that, but he's always efficient. He's always got an 80% completion, not 80, 70% completion percentage. He doesn't throw picks. Like, how many attempts has it been straight since he's thrown a pick?
I think it's 558.
Yeah, at home he's into like the 500s, almost the 600s.
He hasn't thrown
crazy,
one in years.
Like at home, I think it was 2012 the last time he threw a home interception,
I believe,
which is just insane. The level of efficiency and the level of holding on to the football, which is huge, especially for NFL quarterbacks.
Well,
and again, that's something Kaepernick has not been able to do.
Even coming into this week, Eli Manning had the same record kind of thing going where he threw
which is amazing
lot of consecutive
because
passes.
It's Eli Manning.
And that's what I mean. Like, obviously, I was surprised to hear that during the game when they said Eli Manning's on this long. I said, wow, like, I wouldn't expect
keep going.
I was going to say with Aaron Rodgers, you hear that, and it's like, I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, it's Aaron Rodgers.
He's Aaron Rodgers.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
How about a guy that's completely opposite, though, this year in Andrew Luck, who's still leading the league in interceptions despite missing a game?
I
don't even know what to say about the Colts right now.
I'm shocked.
A clear Super Bowl favorite, and are turning into...
I mean, he's always been recognized as a Super Bowl, as a guy who's
elite
slightly turnover prone.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great quarterback. He makes great plays, but for every great play he makes, he's going to force a few. And we've always known that. But I mean, it seems like this season he doesn't have the pieces around him to be able to force passes.
Yeah, you got T.Y. Hilton still there, but Hilton hasn't looked.
And the addition of Andre Johnson.
Hilton's been playing hurt though too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think a lot of it too is. He's never really had a big running game when he's been there, but he's had young running backs that cycle in and out of the games now. Now you're trying to use Frank Gore as a workhorse back at 32.
Yeah, and Frank Gore during the game, 17 carries, only 53 yards.
I mean, you can't really use a guy like that as a workhorse back like that. And you look at them at the way they're playing too. When Andrew Luck first came into the league, he had Reggie Wayne there. He had weapons there, right? Now they're it seems like they're trying to pop in older guys to fill these roles of the guys they're letting go. Right, like they're under the Patriots mentality where they can let people go and just plug in other guys, but it doesn't seem like they can do that.
Now, speaking of older, Matt Hasselbeck stepped in at quarterback this week, and they won.
Got them the win.
16-13.
They did play the Jags, to be fair.
It's true, but it went to overtime.
But how many of us were filling out our picks this week and saw that Luck wasn't playing and jumped on the Jaguars?
No, not me. I still wouldn't have.
I did. Really? I looked at it. I was like, Luck's not playing, and they're offering the Jaguars at 5-1 odds. So I'm in on the Jags.
Yeah, but Hasselbeck, he had a good game considering it's been quite a while since we've seen him start a game. 30 for 47, 282 yards, and a touchdown.
Don't wake him up off of his little nap there to get him to come in and play some football.
And more than likely, he's probably starting again tonight as well.
Yeah, that's what we've kind of read and heard. Andrew Luck's still kind of up in the air. I would go Hasselbeck, I think. He played a decent game.
Hasselbeck played a good game, and Hasselbeck is not a bad backup quarterback by any means.
Not.
He knows the game. He's been around it for forever. He's basically an assistant coach on that team. Like, that's the reason they have him there, is to coach up their young quarterback in Andrew Luck.
I agree with that, and I like that idea.
I don't think they ever, in their wildest dreams, expected him to be starting in week 4 of the regular season, but...
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
But, I mean, as far as backup quarterbacks go, they're lucky to have a guy like Hasselbeck there who can step in and lead a team.
Yeah, no,
right?
I'm totally okay with that, too. I agree.
And I tell you, one position that hasn't been leading teams this year is the kickers. They have looked bad.
Terrible.
And we saw another big thing with the release of Scobie this week, who you got to feel bad for, because he used to be one of the best kickers in the league.
How weird was that game, though, that Thursday nighter?
It's hard to look back on something like that and feel the way.
It was honestly one of the weirdest games I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Are we shocked?
How it switched over, the overtime, and then
it was
just
a very
mess.
weird game.
It was a mess.
Yeah. I mean, it was a difficult game to watch. It was...
you look at a score like 23-20 of a game that went to overtime, and you think, wow, that looked like it could have been a very close game.
No.
It was just weird. The whole game just had kind of ups and downs and left and right that you just didn't know.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about the Joe Flacco and the Michael Vick thing all you want. They both looked bad.
Vick looked absolutely terrible. His stats this week, 19 of 26, 124 yards, 1 TD, and he actually only rushed for 33 yards, averaging 3.7 a carry, which is not Vick-like
That's not
at
Vick.
all.
I mean...
The age is definitely starting to show.
You got to look at the fact, too, that Vic is still one of the fastest guys out there. But you got to look at the fact, too, that this offense was built to have Ben Roethlisberger. And they looked like they were running on a limited playbook. And, I mean, I'm not saying, any level of preparation can get you, prepared to have Vic starting in place of a Ben Roethlisberger. They're nothing alike whatsoever. No. But, I mean, you got to feel like they should have had something a little better planned out than that. It seemed like they were running the same pass 4 or 5 times in that game.
And he was never hitting any of those passes, throwing short, throwing it at the ground.
Well, that's what I said going into the week, too. That's what I said going into the week, too, is Vic is not built to have those short out passes that they've been throwing all year with Roethlisberger. And everyone kind of assumed, and everyone said to me, they'll change it up and run different. They didn't change anything up.
Nothing at all.
They just put him on a limited Ben Roethlisberger playbook, and that really did not translate to an effective game plan.
Well, what about the game from Justin Forsett? Obviously, we mentioned Flacco really kind of struggling and not looking his best in that game. Forsett, 27 carries, 150 yards rushing. He didn't have a touchdown, but that's a big game from Forsett. And
again, a guy that I've said multiple times is an overrated player in this league after one decent season throughout his career, but he stepped up and he shouldered the load for the Ravens, and he's a lot of the reason why they got that win and are potentially still even in a playoff hunt. I mean, with Roethlisberger out, second spot in that division could be up for grabs. We know Cincinnati's probably winning the division.
Yeah.
But second spot could be back up for grabs, and if Baltimore can, get their act together.
They did lose Steve Smith, though, broken ribs.
They lost Steve Smith, but
Steve Smith's more a talker than he is a catcher now.
Well, Steve Smith has been putting up tremendous seasons.
Yards last week.
I'm not a Steve Smith fan at all. I will full on admit that. I don't care.
I don't like the guy or the mentality of him, but he is a tremendous receiver.
He is a tremendous receiver. Like, I give him that credit where his credit is due.
And there's been a bit of a career renaissance here in Baltimore too in the last couple seasons. He's he had his doubters that people thought he wouldn't be able to do much coming over to Baltimore from Carolina, but he's silenced most of them.
Now, speaking of receivers, though, for Baltimore, Kamar Alkman had a very good game for Baltimore as well. 26-year-old, obviously, in his third season. 5 catches for 77 yards. I know in fantasy football he's been a hot commodity, people trying to pick him up now, as he's looking to be the number 1 guy in Baltimore.
What's the word on Gilmore, too? Is he coming back?
I haven't seen anything, in all honesty, about Gilmore.
I think if Crockett Gilmore comes back, that again, that's a huge substitute for Smith there, because he was one of Flacco's favorite targets looking at the beginning of the season.
I know fantasy-wise they were telling people to kind of keep an eye on him if he's been dropped or anything, because they said it could be a week, 2 weeks. Like, it's kind of unclear. It's kind of up in the air right now, and Crockett Gilmore's coming back.
I mean, if he comes back, you can be looking at statistically a top 5 tight end in the league.
Oh,
the
absolutely.
way Flacco looks for tight ends, the way Flacco's looked for him.
Always.
And of course with Pitta being, I don't know, permanently in a hospital or something. I don't think he's gotten out of the doors in the last 2 seasons. Walk out and just crack. Oh, he's going back in.
Yeah, great. There it is.
As soon as he gets out the door, but hits himself with the door on the way out. Just, that's a broken rib. Well, that's 4 weeks. But yeah, I mean that, and getting back to the kickers being the difference in a game like that. Again, looking at the difference between a guy like Justin Tucker on the Ravens and playing the way he has the past 3 seasons.
What a game Tucker had,
and a guy like Scobie, who has been
one of my fantasy leagues, put up 14 for me.
And then you got on the other side a guy like Scobie who's been laying the egg all season. Like he's
now speaking kicker wise, going to Buffalo, my favorite team. Dan Carpenter during the game had hit a 50-yard field goal, or 50 or 51 yards.
51.
Yeah, 51. And I was ecstatic. In my head, I was like, okay, that's what he needed. Confidence booster. It's coming back, because he's already hit a couple long ones this year.
And then he went back to Buffalo Bills land and missed a 33-yarder.
30 yards. And he missed. That's when I just gave up hope. And this week, to make things better for Bills fans, they signed Billy Cundiff. Wow, geez, wow, Billy Cundiff.
There's a name you want to hear in your...
That's a name you never want to hear in
the It's a little bit of a desperation. At least they didn't sign Scobie.
If they signed Scobie, here's what their scouting on Billy Cundiff said, when they asked, hey, what's with the signing? He'll be here for kickoffs and special teams. Yeah?
You think?
Yeah, they're like, he's got a good leg, but his accuracy's off. That's Dan Carpenter's problem, too, so how is this fixing anything? They don't have an answer to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the signing in general, whether that's going to be too advantageous or not, but you look at the way kickers have been going in the league this year anyway. It doesn't matter whether they're an excellent kicker or not. They're all missing these easy 30-yard kicks. Even the ones who are hitting the deep ones.
Do you guys think that them moving the extra point back is really just
got in the
kicker's head that much right now?
I think it's a mentality thing.
Because if you look at it, there's a lot of field goals that they've been making that are shorter than the extra point, but some of them are missing these extra points now, missing these 30-yard field goals.
It's funny because you see them line up and you hit, and they hit the 40 and 50-yarders, and it's perfect, right? And it's on line, right? And then you see them line up for the 30-yarders and they're always off to a side and stuff. It's like, I don't know if what's getting in their, if it's getting in their heads or if it's over practice on them or something at practices, but. Those. I feel like it has a lot to do with those, moving the extra point line back.
It almost looks like kickers are becoming a liability in this league. Like, I'm going to go
back.
Well,
you look at what the Steelers have been doing, and they're not even kicking extra points anymore. They're just going for two all the time.
Every time.
I can't blame them. Yeah. Like,
I mean, with Josh Scobie, but I mean, in general, you think that becomes like an archetype in the NFL of going for two?
I like it, seeing them go for two, in all honesty. Like, I don't mind kicking the one. Like, Buffalo's been doing it all year. We've gone for two, I think, once or twice. But in all honesty, like, just seeing teams take that risk and not having to rely on the kicker as much, to me, isn't awful. It's not that bad a thing. The kickers are out there for the field goals, which they need to be. So I don't mind it, in all honesty.
And it does make the game a little bit more exciting as well.
It's kind of an odd punishment for the NFL, though. These guys are too good at what they do.
Yeah.
Let's make it harder.
Make it harder. Make their job harder,
Yeah. I mean, it is, slightly more exciting to be able to see them go for two more often, which is what the NFL was aiming for, really.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they wanted to see those 2-point conversions happen more often.
So, speaking of the Bills and Giants game quickly.
Eli had a big game.
Eli had a darn good game.
3 touchdowns, 212 yards.
Threw a pick, though. First pick of the season.
Woo!
How many times has Eli made it through 4 games in the season without a pick?
Yeah. He also tied Sims for the career wins as a Giant, including
101, was it?
101, yeah. He hit 101 against the Bills.
Gotta love Phil Sims.
Yeah. And coming out of that game, Carlos Williams gets a concussion. How awesome to be a Bills fan right now. You got LaShawn McCoy out right now.
No, stop. I'm a Cowboys fan right now.
Yeah,
you can't even continue to
don't even complain.
Don't
even talk to me when Ryan Lindley is your starting quarterback.
I have Brandon
in week
Whedon.
17. Talk to me when you had J.P. Lossman as your starting quarterback.
I would take J.P. Lossman over Ryan Lindley any day. Ryan Lindley is statistically the worst player ever to start an NFL game.
Anyway, Carlos Williams is out. They said there's a possibility he plays this week. He's going to be a game-time decision. In the meantime, they signed Boone Herron for now to go with Anthony Dixon. Sammy Watkins is again going to be a game-time decision for this week. But other than that, as we spoke about before, was the officiating. And I know, Jeff, you caught a bit of this game. Odell Beckham Jr. threw about 3 or 4 punches during the game at Bills defensive players, was not flagged once during the game for this. They called the holding penalty on the Tyrod Taylor running touchdown.
Which was a nice run.
Which the player had one arm on the other player on the Giants, and he just fell over. And they called a holding penalty. I
think anytime that a guy falls over, though, when the quarterback gets outside, I mean, you're going to see the flag get thrown.
Awful.
I mean, it's hard, though, in the NFL. As to be fair, I mean, we're ripping on the referees here. But it's hard in the NFL to make a holding call.
But on a scoring play, they go to the replay every time. You're going to see things like that.
Yeah, but you can't reverse a holding penalty. But, I mean, you see holding... You can call holding any play in the NFL. Yeah. Almost any play.
And that's what I mean.
And they kind of go by a basis of, if they're watching it, they're not right up against the guy's face like we are with the replays and that, right? They can't see exactly where the guy's hands are, right? They're making this call on the run in a fast-paced environment, right? And, yeah, maybe you can say it wasn't called, but any time that a quarterback gets out of the pocket and they see an outside rusher go down, they're going to call holding.
Now, I was going to touch on with Odell Beckham Jr. again with this game, where there was another penalty that was called on Jerry Hughes, where Jerry Hughes was on the ground after he had made a tackle, and Odell Beckham Jr. stood over him and slapped him twice on the back of the helmet. Jerry Hughes got up, gave him a shove, and Jerry Hughes got the only penalty. Now, Odell Beckham Jr. didn't have that great a game against the Bills, even though he made that phenomenal one-handed catch out of bounds. But after the game, Ronald Darby and Stephon Gilmore came out and called Odell Beckham Jr. a prima donna saying that he gets away with anything he wants, and that goes back to my discussion.
He's one of the poster childs of the NFL.
Yeah, and that goes back to my discussion of being a superstar and getting that protection. Do you guys agree in the NFL that they have that right now?
I mean, the superstars are obviously going to get a lot more calls than anyone else, but I mean, you look at the NFL and it's a business, and the way businesses make money is by marketing towards their biggest assets, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously, if there's a risk of putting a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. or like, you know, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers at risk, they're going to lean towards that person, right? And that's more, again, of a business mentality thing. It does hurt the integrity of the game a little bit, but I mean, a lot of that too, you got to look at, you know, the calls they call on other people and that too. And I mean, they're going to miss calls. They're going to make bad calls. It is what it is. They're only humans.
Yeah, and to me though, like, aside from the refereeing, but you could see that frustration building in the players, like I mentioned earlier, Cam Newton. But
you don't get that many penalties in one game without frustration.
Exactly, yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, you speak about Cam Newton, as I mentioned earlier, saying that, well, the referee told me I didn't get the calls because I'm too young. Stephon Gilmore and Ronald Darby coming out after the game and saying...
Can you imagine the, like, cojones on a referee to say that to a player?
Especially to someone like Cam Newton, who... He is a very good player, obviously. He's a superstar. Mm-hmm. And to tell the guy, well, you're not old enough. Excuse me? Like, okay. And then I get injured, that referee's in a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. And to tell him that, it's insane to me. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And like I was saying with Darby and Stephon Gilmore... after the game saying, well, you know, we've noticed it and you're seeing it around the NFL that stars are being protected. I agree with it. Like, you're seeing it a lot this year. We've seen it last year. You know what? We see it every season. But it's come to the point where you got to let them play and you got to kind of put that away kind of thing.
At the end of the day, football is a contact sport.
Exactly.
It's a lot like what we see in the NBA all the time, too, with the star players getting the calls and that. It's... You know, it is what it is. If you're a big name, you're going to get calls.
Or they let go of the travel sometimes on those open lane dunks.
Especially if it's a big play that's going to make highlight reels.
I'm a huge LeBron supporter, but I'll be the first to admit he gets a lot of those traveling calls.
A lot of the superstars, though, do.
Exactly.
And, you know, you're going to see that in every league. You know, baseball, this is not, you know, free of that either. Although... I did mention with the referees that we got to talk about, you know, the good with the bad. And it's the same with our kicker conversation in that. Anyone catch the end of the Chargers game?
No, I actually did not.
You can talk about both the plus and the minus for the kickers in that one. He comes to the line, misses the field goal to win the game, and then it gets called back. He gets with the penalty, and he goes and kicks it again and makes it.
No way, I didn't know that.
Offside penalty in overtime to win the game. And or it wasn't overtime, was it? It was just the end of the game.
It was just the end of the game, but it was offside on the grounds.
Yeah, it was right at the end of the game, and they called an offside with 2 seconds on the clock. He comes to the line again and nails it.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I actually did not know that that's how they won the game. I saw they won, checked the stats, and said, okay, like, they won. Not too bad a game. But
overall, not a very good game. Not a fun game to watch.
This week, there was not a lot of fun games, in all honesty.
A lot of the games this week were, you know, old-fashioned, one in the trenches, aside from maybe like Atlanta. But that
we got to talk about them.
The Falcons, their offense looks good, but you got to talk. If you're talking about their offense too, you got to talk about the fact that almost every week this season they've had huge leads and given up comebacks to the teams in the fourth quarter. You start to go up against the good. They have the easiest schedule in the league. You start to go up against the good teams. You know, you're not going to be able to give those, you know, points back like that.
Yeah, Brian Hoyer only completing just over 50% of his passes, but still threw for 232 yards.
And a lot of that was at the end of the game during the comeback, too.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're up 35-0 against a team, and it ends up, you know, 48-21, I mean, sure, that's, you know, you won decidedly, but your fourth quarter defense, your late third quarter defense, you guys got to be better than that. I mean, you're playing the Texans this week, but if you go up against a solid team, especially if you make the playoffs, you're going up against a Green Bay. You're going up against a Seattle.
That defense isn't going to last too long.
Like you start giving up those runs at the end of the game, you're going to lose that game. Runs.
How about
points,
Freeman though?
You're going to lose that
3
game.
touchdowns for them.
I was about to touch on that. Their run game has looked very good, Atlanta. And even if they're passing to the running back off screens or just short pass plays, they're doing very well.
Their whole offense in general has looked very good. And my, you know, first quarter of the season pick for Coach of the Year has got to be Dan Quinn.
Yeah,
Agreed.
they've done a very good job.
That team has definitely blown expectations out of the water.
And they won a game without all to Julio, too, this week.
It's true. But at the same time, you do have to say, Quinn was brought on board to improve that defense.
Mm-hmm.
That defense is still not a good defense.
But that offense has...
That offense was going to be good. That offense was going to be
weapons.
good regardless. We knew that offense was going to be good. But
now, with the Texans, obviously, Arian Foster coming back a lot sooner than I think a lot of people expected. Of course, at the beginning of the year, there was talks that he would be out for 10 weeks, and then it kind of just slowly muffled down. But I think
that's always the situation with Arian Foster. He's always getting hurt, but he always ends up back sooner than expected.
Yeah, and
do you think that's maybe why he always gets hurt, though, because he's always trying to come back early?
Rushing him back? I mean, it could be. I'm obviously not in a situation where I can, comment on his, recovery speed or anything. It varies for every person, but I mean, it could very well be.
Just seems like such a regular pattern that happens. Maybe that is part of it.
And it's a shame because, I think a healthy Arian Foster is a top 10 close to
I think if you're
top 10 now, for sure.
I think if you're an Arian Foster, though, and you do get these injuries and you are rushed back from them, I think a lot of that is going to be you trying to come back too. Because if you're a running back in the NFL and you miss a season for an injury, that's a solid chunk of your career. I mean, running backs don't last very long in the league. So if you can come back and play 6 or 7 games as opposed to missing the whole season, I think running back is a position where you're going to do it. I think if you're a receiver, you probably sit out the season. If you're a quarterback, you probably sit out the season. But as a running back, it's your career, and you don't have a lot of opportunity to make that money.
No, yeah, and I agree completely with that.
But, I mean, again, kudos to him for being able to get back in time. Really didn't make a difference in this game.
No.
Although I am expecting him at some point to have a huge breakout game. I mean, this is Arian Foster we're talking about.
And I was going to say, we see that every year with him, that he has that one game where he just explodes, and then the rest of the games in the season that he plays, you can't stop him.
Yeah, after he has his coming out party each season, he continues that streak.
He's just you cannot stop the guy.
How about the close game of the Broncos and the Vikings? The Vikings looked pretty good in that game, I'm not going to lie. They fought hard. It was a great game. I think that was probably the game of the week this week.
The Vikings are a questionable team. It's hard to pin how good or how bad the Vikings are.
If they had an offensive line, they would be very dangerous.
I mean, I like that they finally have an actual quarterback to pair with Peterson. I mean, yeah, they had Favre for a year, but I mean, they've got a guy who they can pair with him and learn with them and build around, right? And that's huge. And you can talk about how good Adrian Peterson is all day long, and he is insanely good. He's a beast. He's the best running back in the NFL still. Even after missing a season, he comes back and does what he's been doing so far this year.
Yeah, he had another great game this week, 81 yards, one touchdown.
He's just not human. But at the same time, quarterbacks win games. This is the NFL. The most important position in football is the quarterback. And if you're throwing out Tavares Jackson and Brad Johnson, you're just not going to win games, no matter who your running back is.
And with the Denver Broncos...
Just ask Barry Sanders.
With the Denver Broncos, they actually had a polar opposite game where Ronnie Hillman had 103 yards rushing, which... This season, him and Anderson.
A lot of that was on that one run, though.
On the one run, yeah.
The one run. It was what, 60?
80 or 70.
Yeah, he only had 11. He only had 11 carries for 103 yards.
Yeah, a lot of that, a solid chunk of that was off that one run.
Hey, you know what? But it gave them a score that maybe they could sit back a little on. Now that could be a confidence boost to Ronnie Hillman.
Do you think maybe they start Hillman over Anderson this week?
I think.
Or get him at least a couple more touches.
I think I'd give him a couple more touches. They both had 11 carries. I
feel like it's a bad situation to be in regardless. I wouldn't want to start either of those guys at running back.
Like I said, I wouldn't mind starting Ronnie Hillman, giving him a shot there in Denver.
I think in Denver, too, I think they got to look at picking up someone to get other carries out of that backfield. Because you look at Hillman and Anderson, and you don't really have a guy who stands out. But on top of that, they're very similar in the styles that they run the football. And if you're going to run a game where you give 11 carries to both of them, you'd better hope they have different styles.
In all honesty, yeah, the 11 carries is literally 22 coming from the same guy almost.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And when you have Peyton Manning, at this age at quarterback, you need a running game.
Yeah, and it's hard for Peyton Manning to predict because after we kind of bashed him after our very first podcast, he came out and just
shut us up immediately.
The thing with Peyton Manning is, though, he's still accurate. He's an accurate quarterback, and he's so smart, as a football player. But I can throw the ball further than him.
Yeah, and you could see that arm is probably slowly starting.
Yeah,
to
you can't
lose
throw
it.
he can't throw the deep passes, and defenses know that. And if you can't throw the deep pass, you need a running game.
And to me, that's something though that the Denver as a whole, they have to adjust to that. They got to start giving shorter, quicker plays, almost like what the Patriots do. Like the thing with Tom Brady is, guy could throw however far he wants it,
but he still can throw the deep passes.
And that's
Peyton Manning physically cannot
that's what
throw
I was
those
gonna
passes.
get at, is Tom Brady can throw the long ball, but the Patriots don't do it unless they have to.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's something Denver has to kind of incorporate into the offense.
Yeah, but the thing there too is defenses know they can, so defenses have to protect it. At the same time, defenses know Peyton Manning can't throw that,
So
and when he
it's
does,
easier
and when he
said than
does, it's a wobbly, weird, slow pass. That the receiver outruns.
No, I agree.
Right, and
it's a hard call because you just think when you hear the name Peyton Manning, you just think complete quarterback.
And he still plays well for what he is, but they're playing well right now. They're winning games right now. But as you get deeper into the season, teams are going to adjust to that, and there's not going to be those short passes available anymore.
No, and exactly, defenses aren't dumb. At least the good teams and their coaches are not dumb. They will adjust to things like that.
Mm-hmm. Especially. I don't know what happened there. Especially when you're playing in the AFC where you have so many solid defensive backfields, right?
Yeah. Now, speaking of older quarterbacks, I wanted to jump with Carson Palmer, who against the quarterback killer St. Louis Rams.
Another career renaissance going on this year.
Carson Palmer had a very good game considering they were up against St. Louis, who has
one of the best front sevens we've talked about.
And they've been killing every quarterback they played. Palmer still put up 352 yards, 1 touchdown, but still, you know what? When you're up against St. Louis, that's easier said than done. Chris Johnson, just again,
another great
decent game. He's again talking about career coming back, resurrections, and everything else. But I'm gonna let Jeff take this one away. I know he has a lot on his mind about this game.
Well, there's a few things going into it. One, the Cardinals, they played a solid game. They could have done better, obviously, but the refs really came into a factor again on this one with some really weird calls, especially on that David Johnson touchdown down the middle that they called back. It was a really odd play to call holding on, and I didn't even see the penalty when I went back and looked over it. Everything looked very clean to me. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing was that fumble that they called forward progress. The guy punched the ball out before he touched the runner. Mm-hmm. You cannot possibly call that forward progress. No, and you listen to the announcers too, and even the announcers were saying there's no way that that's forward progress, right? And there really isn't. And even on the play that was immediately before that one, that was a fumble too. And they reviewed it and they reversed it for some reason, even though the Cardinals guy came up with the ball. And all you include all those in, and that's possibly 21 points that you just cost them. Right?
Yeah,
A referee should never have an impact of 21 points on a football game, no matter who you're a fan of. Whether I'm a fan of the Cardinals or not, a referee cannot have a 21-point swing impact on a game.
You hate to see when a team loses or gains.
Because of the zebras.
Exactly.
It's the worst.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you have guys like Tavon Austin who are 10 yards deep and, knocking receivers' or DB's helmets off and pushing them around. It just... If you're going to make those calls, you got to make them both ways.
What about Gurley, though? You guys think finally this is his coming out party?
The Rams hope so.
The
Cardinals' defense is no slouch of a defense.
The problem with watching that game is two things. One, you're going to be able to run on the Cardinals this year. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to pass on them. They rolled out 7 DBs to start every game. They rotate 2 linebackers in and out all the time, right? They are completely okay giving up the run. They don't care. They will give up the run. But at the same time, you look at the game Gurley had, and a lot of people are touting how impressive it was by looking at the stats. You watch him in the first half, he had no yards in the first half. He came out in the second half and killed it, yeah. But that's to be expected out of something like that, right? If you don't run the ball a lot,
he was averaging 7.7 yards a carry, though. That is impressive no matter what.
Again, mostly in the second half, though, right? And now... Obviously, you look at a guy who does that purely in the second half, and you think a lot that the team, isn't prepared to have them come out and do that, right? If a guy only puts up 0 yards in the first half, and you have a team like St. Louis where you have 3 or 4 running backs on that roster, you're expecting a different guy to come out there.
And they had quite a nice receiver duel in that game between Tavon Austin, who had 6 catches, 96 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and Larry Fitzgerald, again, speaking of older players, 7 catches for 99 yards.
Came 1 yard short. 1 yard short of his third straight 100-yard game for the first time since 2011.
Yeah.
He's looking like he's back right now.
I don't think he was ever gone. I think you look at the way he's played over the last 3 years, he's still always made those catches that Larry Fitzgerald makes. He just hasn't been thrown to, right? And Carson is now throwing to him. I think a lot of what it was at the beginning of last year, at least, they were telling him not to force those passes to Larry Fitzgerald. Bruce Arians was saying, don't force them to him, get the other guys involved, right? And you saw when Stanton came in, he was starting to force those passes, and Fitz started making plays for the first couple games, right? But now, Carson looks like he's more confident in forcing those passes to him, whether that's Arians telling him it's okay or not, which I can completely see from a guy like Bruce Arians. A lot of this season and the stats he's put up have come from the fact that he is getting targeted, right?
Which I love to see. In all honesty, I've always loved Larry Fitzgerald. Like, I have nothing with the Cardinals.
I don't think there's a person in the world that can hate Larry Fitzgerald.
No.
You have no reason to whatsoever.
He's a very good human being. Like, for example, I followed the guy's Facebook, liked his Facebook for God knows how long. And you could just see he seems like just a happy and a good person. Like,
he is a good person. And the thing, too, is even if people will say how much he's getting paid and that, and he takes pay cuts every year. And that's, commendable.
And that's what I was going to touch on, too, was you mentioned how, the last couple of years he may have not been thrown to as much, but he stayed loyal to Arizona. Like, he's kind of a guy who's always kind of wanted
He's always said that he won't leave Arizona for anywhere but Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Right? Or Minnesota. Pittsburgh or Minnesota have always been his two things that he'll only leave for, right? Because obviously he grew up in Minnesota. He was a ball boy for the Vikings growing up. And Pittsburgh's where he played college, and it's, kind of like a second home to him, right?
Imagine him on Pittsburgh right now with Antonio Brown. Wow.
And Martavius Bryant.
But the thing with Fitzgerald is that even if he caught 100 yards a season, he'd still be worth every penny we pay him. Yeah. He means so much to that team as a leader, as a guy on that sideline, as just a guy in the locker room. He is one of the most professional players that I have ever witnessed in the NFL.
And that's, I think, something that radiates, and you could see it off him. That you could see that positivity, like you mentioned.
And you want to talk about opposite of professional. How about Greg Hardy coming back this week, playing his first game in 398 straight days?
I really, really hope this helps our Cowboys defense. Get some more pressure on the QB to make our DBs look half decent out there. We need something to happen. We lost Dunbar for the season again. Obviously, Romo's still out. Dez is still out, hopefully coming back week 7 now. Sean Lee now has a concussion, which I know he's one of the best linebackers when he's healthy, but he's never healthy, so I've been waiting for that injury to happen.
You knew it was coming. The Sean Lee injury comes every year.
Was hoping it would maybe be a bit later. When we got a couple other players back.
The annual Sean Lee injury.
Now, you guys finally got a good game out of Terrence Williams, though, during the game. He didn't have an awful game, and he didn't have the best game, but he showed up with the big catch with the touchdown. But they seem to be kind of moving the ball to everyone in Dallas right now. There's not really a number one guy, obviously, because Dez is gone. Brandon Weeden threw for 246 yards.
Who's actually leading the NFL in completion percentage.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
I think it's 76% or something.
And
but he never throws deep.
Just came away in overtime. But my credit goes to the Dallas Cowboys. As a Bills fan, you could understand why I'm not the biggest Cowboys fan. But
why is that? Explain
I don't
to
know.
us.
They took 2 of our hopes and dreams away. But you know what? I give a lot of credit to the Cowboys with all these injuries. They are in every single game till the end, and they will not die.
They don't give up.
Yeah. And I like watching that. To me, I watch the Cowboys because even though all the injuries, they don't have the superstars out there, I just know I'm going to get a good, hard-working game out of it.
And that's why I said to you guys, when everyone did go out, I thought they still do have a very solid chance to win that division. Like I said, without Romo, if they could manage to go 3-4, 2-4, I think they could still end up stealing that division away from the Giants.
Yeah, and watching it now and seeing what's transpired over the past couple of weeks, I have to agree with you.
You look at the boost that Hardy might be to that defense, too. I mean, to be fair, we don't know.
We don't know yet,
I mean,
though.
He hasn't played since week 1 of 2014, right?
Yeah, you know what?
But
he might look like a rookie.
When he was playing in 2013, late 2013, early 2014 for that one game, he's an incredible football player. Right, and he it's not only the way he is as a football player, but he brings a mentality to the defenses that he plays for that just is. It's a ruthless kind of mentality that you love to see from defenses.
And how about Drew Brees, though? Another person in the 400 club.
What was it, 1 week after Tom Brady joined?
Yeah, 1 week.
Well, and that's only because Drew
quickest
Brees
player ever to get there.
Missed the week.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Yeah.
He's the quickest player ever to get to 400.
Well, because Drew Brees, the game last week, which he was injured, that's the first time he's missed a game in...
I think 60-something.
Like an unreal number. Like it's
quite a few years.
He's the Iron Man.
Yeah.
But even before the other one that he missed, it had been another 4 years. Like he's an Iron Man. Like the guy always plays.
Well, I mean, aside from the 1 year in San Diego where everyone thought he was done due to the injuries, right? But he's come back and he's recovered well and he's been a very solid player and obviously the cornerstone of that Saints franchise.
I think he's going to go down as one of the best, obviously.
Oh, he's a Hall of Famer, no doubt.
No doubt.
No, there's only a handful of quarterbacks in NFL history that have thrown for 5,000 yards in a season, and he's done it 4 times.
And there's only 5 people that have 400 TDs or more.
Yeah.
You're almost automatically Hall of Fame.
One, as you mentioned.
And he's the quickest one there. Actually, quick little tidbit here. Do you know the only player in the 400 touchdown club that hasn't had a 5,000-yard season?
No.
Nope. Favre.
Favre
is the only player in the 400 touchdown club that never had a 5,000-yard season.
That would have been a good.
That would have been a good question this week. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't really give you points for coming close on something like that when there's a
you
general answer.
Yeah, it's 1 out of 5.
Like you could say something, be like, "Well, this place is close to Green Bay, so I guess."
Just alphabetically is the closest.
So another game and another team who, to me, exact opposite of the Dallas Cowboys. What's up with the Eagles?
They're the worst team in the division right now.
I don't know if they're the worst. I fully expect them to at some point figure it out and turn things around a little bit here. I don't know how you can have a team that talented and not be able to figure it out.
I just want to point out I was the only one last week that picked the Redskins to win.
And I was the only one that picked Baltimore to win.
Yep. We went.
Did I picked Pittsburgh as well?
Yep.
I'm surprised at myself. Oh yeah, because I said home field advantage.
Without the Thursdays, I believe I was 10-4 last week, so we're actually getting some respectable records after the first 2 weeks.
The first week was bad.
Brutal, absolutely terrible.
The second week was good.
But that's how it usually is.
Of course, that was
first week you can never judge. Really.
Of course, that was Andrew's leprosy week. So
listen,
Jeremy filling in.
I picked the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. That's not looking too good for me right
now.
Not at all.
Hey, I picked the Ravens.
Yeah, so
I think the Chiefs are
the only smart
more
thing
far
that
gone
we
than the
said
Ravens as
was
of now.
Green Bay.
I don't think so. I think the Chiefs have a better shot at making it at this point than the Ravens. The Ravens have looked bad. But
so let's get into our game picks for the week. So we got the Thursday nighter tonight. The Colts starring Matt Hasselbeck against the Texans. Who do you guys got?
I still got to go Colts. Texans have looked terrible.
Yeah, I got the Colts still too.
And I have faith in the Hass.
Yeah, I got nothing wrong with this game, Colts.
You think it'll be a close game, though, or they blow them out?
I think it'll be close.
Because I think last week we were calling a 40-point blowout for the Colts and Jags game.
I think 16-10.
Yeah,
but we
San
thought...
Francisco game.
Yeah, and the
49ers game, we called a blowout, and that did not happen.
Yeah, we said how many 40s of points will they score, but...
But yeah, no, I definitely got to go Colts with that. Next game, obviously, going to Sunday, we got the Bears and Chiefs.
And your Super Bowl pick, Chiefs.
If the Chiefs don't win this game, I'm quitting the podcast, boys.
Your Super Bowl bound 0-3 Chiefs.
I'm going Bears though.
1-3.
I'm going Bears actually.
No, I'm going Chiefs. They have to win this game.
I'm going Bears.
I'm going Chiefs. I mean, that's a very talented team, and Jamal Charles versus that defense.
I'm
expecting 200 yards from Jamal Charles.
Yeah,
I think
Chiefs to me that's got to be a statement game.
Yeah.
For the Chiefs. Next game is a big one. Seattle versus the 4-0 Cincinnati Bengals.
Bengals take their first loss. Seahawks.
I think I'm going to jump on the bandwagon with Christian. I think
the way the Bengals running game has been and the lack of running defense that Seattle has had so far this season, I got to go with
And what did we
Bengals.
say last week? Dual running backs, Giovanni Bernard and Hill, again, have
They kill it,
good
though.
game.
They are killing it.
Mm-hmm.
But Seattle's got an amazing run defense.
And you got to look at the fact, too, that Andy Dalton has been – he's an MVP candidate this year. Like, he's been killing it, and with that running game, I can't see the Seahawks coming out on the road and winning this game.
And then we got the Redskins at the Falcons. Another 4-0 team, the Falcons.
Falcons are going 5-0.
Yeah, I got the Falcons. Redskins, it seems like they win 1 week, they lose the next week, they win 1 week.
The Falcons put up 48 points.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, the Falcons average
are going
40
fine.
points per game. I think they'll be okay.
And then we
against
got
Kirk Cousins.
the game of the week with the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Blake Bortles versus James Winston.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
Get ready for the game of the season. Watch this end up being the best game of the week.
Oh, this game could.
It could potentially be.
It'd be
It's
hilarious.
48 to
So bad
42.
The thing,
that
the
good.
thing, the thing too is that both teams are so bad that they kind of equal each other out. So this could be a
Exactly.
really tight game.
I'm going Bucks and a
Bucks.
field goal at the end of the game.
I'm going Jaguars, and I'm picking Yeldon to have a pretty good game.
I'm going.
Yeldon, we didn't touch on it. First 100-yard rushing game of
And
his
I think
career.
he's going to have another
I
good
think
game
so,
against
too.
Tampa Bay.
I'm
And
going.
taking
I'm going
the Jaguars
Bucks
because
on a
of that.
last-minute touchdown scramble by Jameis Winston with some sort of crab cake celebration.
Up next, we got the 1-3 Saints against the 1-3 Eagles.
Saints. Drew Brees.
Saints.
That's a really tough
I
one.
said the
but-
Eagles have to turn it around at some point.
It's
I don't
not
think you
happening.
turn.
It's
I
not
don't think.
happening yet.
I don't think you turn it around against Drew Brees.
No, yeah, I'll take Saints in this one as well. Up next, we got again the Cleveland Browns at 1-3 and the surprising 1-3 Baltimore.
Another
Ravens.
divisional game for the Ravens. They've had 3 divisional games in a row now. This is.
I'm
the
going
meat of their
Browns without
schedule.
Steve Smith. I'm going
Wow.
Browns.
I'm going Ravens.
I'm
I mean,
going
they're at home, and again, every game for the Ravens from here on out is a must-win.
And yeah, I
Same
can't
with the
see
Browns, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
But who in realistic?
Yeah.
like,
The
sight-
Browns usually play their divisional rivals well, though.
Yeah, but I got Ravens at home on this one.
Ravens.
Next up, we got the St. Louis Rams against the
Packers.
Pack.
I know.
Unless
you
they
don't
kill
wanna
another
say-
QB.
Unless they get to Aaron
Watch
Rodgers.
Rodgers get hurt.
No, please, I don't.
That's not actually wood.
Our whole next podcast will just be me mobbing and sobbing over Aaron Rodgers being hurt because I like the guy that much. Nah, Packers going 5-0. Up next, we got Dan Marino / every best quarterback in the league and the Tennessee Titans against my boys, the Buffalo Bills, in Tennessee.
I'm sorry. I
don't-
have the Titans. I do. I'm sorry. I think it's going to be hard for the Bills to establish the run. We don't know if Carlos is going to be in. I'm sorry. I got the Titans. And another Dan Marino performance from Mariota.
I've got to take the Bills because as much as I love Mariota as a rookie quarterback going up against that defensive line, I mean, that's going to be too hard for him to overcome. But I think the real question of this game is who wins in a foot race, Tyrod Taylor or Marcus Mariota?
Tyrod.
I think Mariota takes him.
yeah.
I think he edges him out.
Mariota.
I think he edges him out in a foot race.
I don't really want to comment on this game because my heart says Bills, but for some reason, if they lose, I'm not going to feel surprised. It's really up in the air because the Bills have Watkins. We don't know if he's going to play. McCoy out, and we don't know about Williams. So I'm not even going to pick. That's my box of the week. I'm boxing that game out for me. Up next, we got Cardinals and Lions.
Cardinals, safe to say.
I gotta go Cardinals. Lions
are
haven't
going
looked
0-5.
good.
Yeah, Cardinals. They're going to go 4-1.
Best offense in the league so far this year versus the Lions.
And then, which would have been one of my favorite games of the year, but now it's just a complete mess. We got the Patriots against the Cowboys.
Pats.
Well, the IR Cowboys.
Pats.
Pats.
Patriots
yeah.
going 4-0. They just had a bye week and they've been playing.
First week,
amazing.
I'm not picking the Cowboys. I can't even lie to you guys and try and pick them.
Up next, we got the Broncos and the Raiders. Broncos.
I'm taking the Raiders.
Ooh.
I'm taking the Raiders because, again, Peyton Manning can't throw deep and Derek Carr can throw deep.
Even with that Raiders loss to the Bears last week, though?
I don't care. I'm taking the Raiders. The Raiders are a team of parity, and
Broncos.
I think they play the Broncos tight. And
Yeah,
I
I'm
think the
going
Raiders
Broncos.
Giants 49ers in New York.
Giants.
49ers are going 0-16.
Well, they're already won.
They already won a game.
Or
so
1-15, sorry.
they,
yeah.
they're gonna. The NFL is gonna feel so embarrassed for them that they take the win away.
They said no, you didn't deserve it. And our Monday night game, obviously, Pittsburgh Steelers versus the San Diego Superchargers.
Chargers with Vic starting.
Yeah, I'm
right?
going another bad game out of Vic. I'm going Chargers.
Chargers by field goal right at the end again.
Chargers at home with Vic on the road. I can't.
Yeah,
I think Vic actually gets taken out and they go third string here.
Antonio Gates, baby, he's going to put up.
Yeah,
a
he's
game.
back. Yep.
Back from his.
All right, I want to run one thing through here really quick. Those are obviously our picks for the week.
Oh yeah, you got your question again this week.
Quarter season MVPs. Everybody.
Rodgers.
Rodgers.
Real quick.
Aaron Rodgers. 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 4-0.
I am going with Peterson.
Had a bad first
If they
week.
weren't 2-2, I would agree with it. If they were 3-1, I'd lean more with it. But 2-2
Coaches.
hurts it. Coach of the year.
Through 4 weeks, Falcons coach.
Quinn?
Quinn.
I already said I'm going with Quinn.
Yeah, I'm going to join your bandwagon and stick with them.
Stick
Yeah,
on
I'm
Quinn.
gonna say Quinn.
Defensive player of the year.
so far?
Defensive player of the year.
Oh, defensive player. That's really tough, actually, for me.
I'm going Cardinals and taking Tyrann Mathieu. He's had a pick 6. He's led us in tackles 2 out of the 4 games, and he's just been all over the field.
I want to be biased and say, as a duo, Ronald Darby and Stephon Gilmore, they've shut down every number 1 receiver they've played this year, and to me, I love them, obviously.
I'm going Aaron Donald.
Yeah, for me, it's a tough one. I don't really.
I'm going Aaron Donald.
Who's your rookie?
Rookie of the year so far? Maybe Mariota.
Yeah, Mariota.
Mariota or
I'm torn
or
between
Cooper.
Mariota or Abdullah.
that was my
Abdullah,
choice.
yeah. I
Mariota
like that.
or Abdullah are my rookie of the year.
Or
so
Cooper
far.
even.
Oh yeah, Jamari Cooper.
Amari Cooper has been playing very solid as well. Okay, so my favorite segment and yours.
Woo!
Now, our question of the week. Since obviously a main central theme this week obviously was the penalties. We talked about it early. We talked about it late. We talked about it in the middle. How many penalties is the NFL referees on pace to call this season? It is the most in a decade.
So from week 1 to end of the season.
Projection. That I see the.
No, I'm calculating.
All right.
That's still cheating. That's still cheating.
All right, put the phone down. Put the
There's
phone
no
down.
electronic devices.
Except
I
me.
was gonna do
I'm
20 penalties per
allowed.
game.
Wow.
I gotta think about this.
Wow. Yeah, I'm trying to mental math.
Yeah, this is not gonna go well for me.
5,345.
Holy moly!
That's a high call.
That's wow. Okay. How much did you say? 5,000. That threw me off. Okay. So
You
are
said
we
20 a
are we
game.
trying to get clap?
How many games are there a week?
20 a game would be ridiculous. That'd be 1,600 or
Watch the Bills.
3,200 a
They've
week.
had-
That's
watch
why
the
mine was
Bills.
so
They've
high.
had like 20 a game every week. All right.
That's why mine was so
Yeah,
high.
but that's not
There's
every team.
3,200
3,200
week.
penalties a week would be.
Let's leave me alone now. I'm gonna go like 200. No, that's way too
There
low.
was more than that this week.
735.
735?
Yeah.
I still might be closer.
I just told you there was more than 200
Okay,
this
can I
week.
get another
I
guess?
actually,
no, you've
I-
given 3 guesses already.
honestly, I actually have to use a calculator for this because the answer is 3,986.
That's
You're within 2,000.
he's
He's within 2,200.
oh
Oh yeah.
Or no, 3,200. So
Wait.
3,200.
So
Okay.
wait, what was your guess?
you said 5,900, right?
No, I said 5,245.
45.
So Christian takes it, and we're
Tied
now
up,
evened
baby.
up one
Yeah, good work.
to
Congrats.
one on consecutive weeks. All right, so that will do it for Fourth and Goal this week. We got to wrap things up here, much to our chagrin and hopefully to yours. So saying goodbye for Andrew Reese and Christian Smith. I'm Jeff Blagden from, again, your favorite football podcast,